Hey guys, Brent Campbell again. Following up from my previous video, the third of this four-part series where my brother David and I talked about why we love M BMWs, the sounds they make, depreciation, and the future of enthusiast cars. In this fourth and final segment, we continue the discussion, covering, among other related topics, which of his 6 M BMWs were his favorites and why. Some of his comments surprised me.
It may be a little bit too distant to memory for you, but the M4.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about the M4 looking back compared to what you've got now?
Emotionally, the M4 may, in a way, have been the peak. And let me explain why.
Now that is also shocking.
Well, let me explain why. It had to do with the fact that it was the first new M car that I had bought. So I did have the new Mini Cooper S, which was, of course, a lot more affordable than a BMW M.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had that new, and then I went from that to a lightly used E46 M3. That it was a cream puff. I mean, the person who owned it apparently was an elderly woman who just liked the way it looked in the showroom, but had not driven it. Whenever I had it inspected by the dealership, not the dealership I was buying it from, I took it to a different dealership, and they were like, if you don't buy this, we're going to buy this because it's a cream puff. And they could just tell it had barely been driven hard. The M5, the E60 M5 that I got after that, also was lightly used. When it was time to get the M4, I had been seeing all the ads for it, and I had been getting excited about it, and I realized that I was in a place financially to be able to afford that. And so there was something really exciting about ordering it exactly how I wanted, using the configurator thing on the website, to get exactly what I wanted, and then go and luckily the local dealership had an allocation for 2 M4s, or I think it was 3 M4s, and I was able to get the third one. And so I was able to order it exactly how I wanted, track it every step of the way as it was being built in Germany, and put on the boat. You could even know what boat it was on. That was so emotionally pleasing, as it was almost like being a first-time parent. It was really exciting. And that car was gorgeous, and I felt like when I floored that thing, and this was just the M4, it wasn't even the M4 competition, because that wasn't out yet. I mean, it was like a time warp. I mean, the acceleration in that thing was crazy. In many ways, I loved it because it was new, because it was exactly how I wanted it. I mean, I got everything I wanted and then left off the stuff I didn't. It was perfect. So in many ways, the M4 will always have that special place in my heart. In terms of the best of them, I mean, again, it's how you choose amongst your kids, because each of them has their own special aspects. The E46 M3 was the first M car I ever had, and in many ways it's the best. Then I had the M5. In many ways it's the best. I mean, in terms of just a bruiser, a highway brawler, but nothing beats that.
Right.
The M2, original M2, was fun. It was an M car, smaller, lighter weight, certainly going, from the M4, it was a lighter weight. And then they've just gotten progressively better. Is this my favorite? I don't know. I like it a lot. I mean, I was willing to shell out the extra money for it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. It's hard to beat it in many ways. So it's like asking, what's your favorite kid?
I'm spoiled. You're crazy spoiled.
I'm mega spoiled.
So if you're on your 6th M car, it's like we were out driving it earlier, and I was filming in the back seat, which is really hard for a 6'2" guy to get into the back of this thing.
It's not fun.
And David asked me, "Hey, do you want to drive?" And I'm like, "Nah." I might 10, 15 years ago, I would have given my left arm to drive this car. Yeah, it's not that I don't want to, it's just another time or whatever.
Well, you've driven it before.
I have driven it before, but I haven't really driven it. I just, got a feel for it. Maybe that's one reason why I love the M2 so much, is that I did kind of get to drive it.
Yes, that is true.
So and
you had more seat time,
and then you just get so much more engagement out of a manual. At the same time, I understand that the DCT is much quicker and it gives you more control. It's faster, especially if you can't heel and toe, which I can't.
Yeah, I mean it's faster. But like I said, faster isn't always better.
True, which is why we love the gas burners instead of the electric cars.
Yeah, and sometimes a tenth of a second longer to manually shift is worth it.
I can't believe I didn't ask you about this. We started to talk about sound. Okay, so sound from M2 to comp to CS.
Okay, I am weird in that I know they pump the sound through the speakers.
Yeah. It sounds like an i8.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't bother me that much. Like, I feel like I can still hear enough of the engine that I tune out the sound pumped in. So that, I don't know, that doesn't bother me that much. And maybe I'm crazy that I hear it that way. Yeah. But that's the way I hear it. So that's good for me.
Well, if it works for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
I mean, do I wish that they didn't do that? Of course. I think everybody that owns one of these wishes that they didn't do that. I don't know why they insist on doing that.
I thought they offered you could turn it off or something.
You can do something with a fuse or something, or you can. Right. It's not that. You can do some sort of a software update. Okay. Yeah, there's some button on the dash that you turn it off, so you can do like a software update that gets rid of it. I believe. Do I go to the trouble to do that? No, I do not. In terms of the sound, what's interesting is the M2 competition, when you had it in Sport Plus, gurgled. It had you let off the gas, and you get the gurgle. This does not do that. There's very little gurgling. Now, I've read up on that. Like, is something wrong? Why is it not gurgling? You would think this would gurgle if that one gurgled. So it turns out that it has to do with the valves and all that sort of stuff, and you can set it somehow with software update or whatever, to do that. Or what a lot of people do if they want really crazy exhaust is just buy aftermarket exhaust. Yeah. I just don't mod my cars like that typically. Yeah. So this one, in some ways, I mean, the engine sounds great. When the windows are down, especially. I mean, it's good. I don't love the exhaust notes on these. I didn't love the exhaust note on the M4 for sure.
Yeah.
Now, on that M5, that is an exhaust note. That sounds good. That engine and the exhaust is perfect.
Yeah, everybody says that.
Everybody
wants to straight pipe that, which I can't do legally in New York State now.
Oh, they don't do that? Yeah.
So it's a good thing I didn't do it, because I wanted to get the Eisenman, but I also didn't want to get divorced. So I guess it's a good thing I hesitated.
Yeah.
But to me, the E46 has that iconic BMW straight six sound.
It does.
Even at idle, I could listen to it all day. And the M5 kind of sounds like a diesel until you get it up into the higher revs, and then it sounds amazing. And I don't want to make it about the M5, because the M5 is really way different than any of the smaller ones. Sure. It's a big luxury car. The M3 is more like the tennis player. It's agile, it's light on its feet. At any speed, it's a joy to drive, or it's a thrill to drive. The M5 doesn't really become enjoyable until you're up into highway speed, so it's an open road car, and that's where it shines. It's unfortunate to be putting all those miles on it when I'm only driving it for 800 miles. We drove down here, it took us 13 hours. It just breezes by because it just gobbles up the interstate. It doesn't really shine until you're up in the higher speeds, and then it's just amazing, and you just fall in love with the car all over again. But driving around town, it's kind of big and lumbering, and of course the M2s are not going to be like that at all. I would imagine every drive is a pleasure.
It is.
And the M5, you have to wait for it to warm up. It's a huge issue. Obviously, with the rod bearings, you got to do that, and it's got that super thick W60. And so, it becomes fairly impractical until you get it up to operating temperature, and then it just gobbles up everything in sight. Well, you're at a different kind of ownership level than I am. I've got to take care of, or I feel like I do not ever want to not have the M3 and M5. I just can't imagine life without them. The M5 is not a very practical car to have, but I love it and it's special. But I do have to go to great lengths to maintain that one. Yeah. The M3 isn't really a big deal. It's great maintenance wise.
I will say that pretty much every BMW I've ever bought, every M car I've ever bought, I've always thought about the next one.
Yeah.
And I am so disappointed with the current lineup.
You and everybody else.
I guess so. I mean, I get that they, handle great.
Yeah, they're great drivers' cars.
They're great drivers' cars, but they're just so not attractive.
Yep.
The grill, I kept thinking maybe it'll grow on me, maybe. I have tried to love it. It is just not good. I can't get excited about it in the same way.
And they're not selling.
No, and I may just hang on to this for a while.
I hope you do.
Yeah, because this is pretty great, and it looks really good, and it sounds really good, and it drives like a bat out of hell. Well, I do think that it'll hold its value.
Oh, yeah.
It's a pretty sweet ride.
Yeah, but I don't think I have anything else really to add.
This is enjoyable.
Good. Well, we'll see how it goes.
All right, that wraps it up for now. I hope you enjoyed our chat and drive through the country roads. Until next time, please do stay tuned.